and welcome to Joycast. And yes, I'm back. I'm your host, Joy, in the morning. And who are you?
My name is Melina. Nice to see you again.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see you on Sunday.
I know.
Because I wasn't in church. But
okay. I wasn't there either.
Lipstick on?
Huh? No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love having a female there.
So yeah. No, I was like,
you can say like your hair's sticking out.
Right.
Or your bra straps are showing.
Yeah. No, everything looks good. You're good.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, but not everyone does that.
No. It's funny because when I was thinking about what are we going to talk about, I was literally thinking about asking you about your friendships. Mm-hmm. And we have those friends who will agree, co-sign what we, tell us what we want to hear.
Right.
But there are some friends who will tell us those things that we don't want to hear.
It's so hard.
But sometimes it's hard, huh?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, what kind of friend are you?
Ooh, you know what? My cousin described me this way, and I was like, wow, it just kind of stuck with me forever. He's all like, you're like a chameleon. Mm. So I'm very adaptable. Yes. So I learn the person, and I see how to communicate the way they need to be communicated with. Right. Not everyone does.
Not everyone's the same.
Exactly. Yeah. So if I see someone that just needs, a listening ear, I got you. Exactly. Okay. You don't need me to be hard on you. That's fine. If I see somebody like, you know what? No, tell it to me straight. All right, I'm going to tell it to you straight. So I can adapt according to my friendships. That's great. And I think that sometimes we even have friendships that are different. I would say like different categories. I like to describe it kind of like a target? Mm-hmm. So, like the target, the main ones, so your circle's really small. Yeah, so those are your main ones, that surround you with know everything. Yeah. And then further out, there's a little bit more and a little bit more. So they're a little bit more distant, but each one plays a part. So there might be the ones like, you know what? I just need to go hang out. Let's go have a coffee. I don't know. I want a michelada. We just, let's just go hang out, listen to some music, and that's it. And they're just a vibe. Yes. There's some that, are more, have an intimate relationship with you, and you can really be vulnerable. Yes. So that's how I feel that in my friendships that I have and that I give as well.
And I love that because I can identify with that. Mm-hmm. I'm the same way. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I was just having this conversation with one of my daughters the other night about friendships. And I was telling her that one day this lady that I hardly know, mm-hmm. she made a comment to me. She critiqued me in something and kind of caught me off guard. And I was like, okay. I didn't get hurt by it, but it threw me off a little bit. So then later on that day, she texted me and she apologized. Mm-hmm. And she says, I owe you an apology. And I was like, oh, for what? And she said, I don't have the currency. I don't, I've not been in your life like mm-hmm. that to be able to have said that to you. She mm-hmm. said, and will you forgive me? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But it got me to think, like some people, like you said, the different relationships mm-hmm. depending on how close you are to them and stuff.
Exactly.
That does matter. Mm-hmm. And we have to be careful. We can't just treat everybody the same.
Right. No.
And because that's where we experience hurt with each other.
Exactly.
And so I think I really identify with that. Like I'm saying things, sometimes I'll say like, do you need me to listen to you?
Right.
Or are you looking for advice? Mm-hmm. That's how we'll start the conversation. Because I don't want to just run my mouth if they're like, I just needed someone to listen to me. Mm-hmm. So that's a good topic. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. And I've learned to start expressing that myself, even in my relationship with my partner. So sometimes, as men, we got to prepare them too, because it could be like, well, baby, maybe you need to do this, you need to do that. And sometimes can you just hear me out?
Yes.
So I've learned to also make sure you set up the conversation and let the other person know what you need from it. Yeah, so I think that's vital as well.
That's very, very good.
Yeah.
Girl, you'll be teaching me some things.
I'll be learning.
Anyway, I wanted to just ask you, how are you?
Well, I'm new to motherhood, so we all know.
We can talk about that for days.
I know. It's crazy how people try to prepare you for it, like, oh, it's hard and it's this and this and that. But I promise you, it felt like all of a sudden I became part of the secret society. Like all my mom friends came out of the woodwork like, are you okay? Like this is normal. Like I'm like, are you serious? Like sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy, and they're like, that's normal. But it's kind of sad at the same time, because it's like there's so many things that we have to deal with and endure behind closed doors. And it's like, if this is normal, why don't I feel normal? And why doesn't anyone around me present it and show it that like, hey, like you're okay. Like this is okay that you're going through it, because it is. This is a lot of people go through it. And that's, I think, the downfall when it comes to that we hide so much because of what we want to, show to the image that we want to present, that we're scared to actually like, no, you know what, this is it's the nitty gritty. That's really how it is.
Well, and like you said something where someone will say like, oh, that's normal. But your normal is not like my normal.
No.
You may have been able to get through that with a breeze, and I'm going through it and I'm having a really difficult time.
That's true.
So motherhood is not.
No.
There's nothing normal about it.
No, not
nothing.
No.
Not the way we feel, not the way we handle things. It's a brand new world.
Yeah. And then there's so much pressure to be a mom too. Yes. Like, how old are you already? When you're gonna be a mom? Especially being, Mexican. I'm like, well, your cousin already has like 6 kids. Well, good for them. Okay. 43 and this is my first. So, they were like, well, the clock was ticking. Like, no, I'm glad it didn't happen sooner, because I'm still, this is still new and I'm learning things, but I think that part of me is more prepared now than it would have been back then. Like, I was in my 20s having, God bless you, because you were young.
That's me, babe, because I was 16, and I tell women I spend from 16, my 20s, 30s, almost into my 40s having babies.
Right.
I mean, my baby,
how old were you when
was
you had your
37 when I had when I had Mia.
Wow.
And from 17 to 37, things had changed.
Right, of course.
So, I was able to run and catch them and do this, that. And when she came, thank God for the older siblings
to help you,
because they basically took over. I mean, she'll tell you stories about that, where they were just so helpful to me because it got tougher.
Oh, I bet.
So I'm so glad that I had my children young.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Now I look at them, and especially when they're all together.
And you got your grandbabies.
All my grandbabies, and I look at them and I'm like, I did that.
I know. That's
awesome. My God. Like, sometimes I'm like, I did. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, no, props to you, because I know I wouldn't.
Man,
God knows. God knows.
Yeah. I tell people that was the greatest thing that I've done thus far is just having my babies.
Yeah.
Every one of them. Loved being pregnant.
Yeah.
I just loved every part of it.
Yeah.
You could tell.
Yeah.
I just kept having
Yeah, of course. You're like, bring it on.
Yeah. It's funny that somebody said, why did you have them? Didn't anyone tell you about birth control? I knew about birth control.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take birth. I just never really thought about it, right?
This was something that you...
And I said, every one of them, it was not until like 2 years ago when I went through my whole healing journey. And I thought about it, and I said, my babies were the only thing that nobody could come and take from me. They were mine.
Yeah.
People come and take your car, they come take your house, they come and take things. I guess they could take your kids too. But it's different. And I was like, they're mine.
Yeah.
Like, they came out of my body, they're mine. And
right.
no one could take them from me. Because I lost my dad very young, and I lost my baby, my first baby, at 16 years old. And then a year and 5 days later, I had my first son. So at that point, it was like, he's mine. And I took real ownership over them.
Yeah.
And it was just the most beautiful thing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yes, I am.
And it gets better, I promise you.
Yeah, no, there's some days I'm just like, this is awesome. And there's some days like, oh my God, I'm going to get through this.
Especially when they wake you up in the middle of the night.
Thank God. He's been amazing. Like, and that's what I feel. It highlights those things in you that you need to better yourself in.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, he's perfect. And honestly, like, everyone who's been around him, they're like, oh my God, he's so easy. He's so sweet. I said, God knew. Because if I had a child that just, I don't know. I'll probably,
But you know what? He equips us.
He does.
Because like all my kids, none of them are the same.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
That's why I call them a garden of wildflowers. When people would say, "What's it like?" I was like,
that's what I was gonna say.
This is all 10 of their birth flowers.
Oh, wow.
And they were different shapes and sizes and personalities. And you didn't treat them all the same.
Right.
You treated them according to their personality.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so I was afraid, like, could I do this? Can I have multiple children? Mm-hmm. What if I don't love them as much as I loved my first? Mm-hmm. But God equips us for the task, Mm-hmm. So you're going to be fun.
Yeah.
No, so is he.
He is. Like I said, he's amazing. But it does, like I said, it highlights the things that I need to work on and better myself as a mom, as a woman, So just, the emotional part. Like, how can I teach this little human being that's only been here for a year how to regulate his emotions if I'm not knowing how to regulate mine? So,
it's
those moments,
responsibility.
Yeah, it's huge. So in those moments where he's, having a fit because I didn't let him get into the kitchen or get into the cabinets, and I'm just like, hey, So in those moments when my emotions and I'm just like overstimulated, I just want to go, I have to make sure that I'm like, okay, I need to reflect that for him. So for him to learn, he needs to see it in me. Otherwise, how's he going to learn? This is his first...
Demonstrate.
Yeah, this is his first go-around, so he doesn't know.
Like my dad always says, they're always on record. Right. They're picking up everything we say, everything that we do. Mm-hmm. And they could be on their video games, whatever. Oh, but they're picking it up.
Oh, for sure. And when he has a behavior, I take a moment to like reevaluate myself. Like, okay, what am I doing to show him that this is proper behavior? Right. If it's something wrong, then there's something that I need to change. Yeah. How I respond to whatever thing that he's going through, I need to be able to shift it so that way he learns and reflects on that too. Yes. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Well, one of the most precious things for me that I experienced with the kids is like when they were starting to get, 4 years old, 5, and they'd fall and they'd skin their knee or their elbow. The minute they feel pain, where's my mom? Mm-hmm. Where's my dad? They look for us. Yeah. And for them to see us in that time and run up to us, they come to us. Right. To like love and nurture and comfort them, Oh man, that used to get me.
Oh, I know. He's already does the little hugs.
Yes.
So he'll be crying and then I grab him and then he just grabs onto my neck and I'm just like melting right now.
It's beautiful.
It is.
Well, one of the topics that I wanted to talk about, and I prayed about it, and I said, Lord, I want to have a topic today. And I want to talk about grace and what that means to you. Mm-hmm. What does grace mean to you?
Ooh, forgiveness for sure.
And I have a reason for asking.
Okay. So. A lot of forgiveness. And just, I guess, flexibility when it comes to vulnerability. Just being soft and empathetic. So I think it's a mixture of all of those things. Like a little pot where you're just like, I need to add this and this in order to make this recipe of grace.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it a couple of days ago and just thinking about my own life. And one day this lady came up to me, a sister came up to me, and she said, I just went out with a group of my friends and I had a really hard time because they were talking about this and they were doing that and they wanted to do this, and I'm listening to her. And I was thinking like, okay, how do I answer? How do I reply? And Holy Spirit, gave me a word. Mm-hmm. And I said, I did that when I was younger. I did that. Mm-hmm. And we cannot forget like what we did when we were younger.
Right.
And how much grace was offered to us. Mm-hmm. Number one, by God, but by other people. Mm-hmm. And that's why I wanted to touch on this today. That no matter where we get as believers or how old we are, we can't ever forget like where we came from.
Oh, no.
And the things that we did.
For sure.
And sometimes, all too many times, I think people get older and they just think like, oh my God, we make judgments about other people. I can't believe they do that, or I can't believe they do that. But I'm like, I did that. Mm-hmm. I did that.
Right.
And look how the Lord used me.
Yeah.
And look how he changed me.
For sure.
And so we live in a world of judgment.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's making judgments about, doesn't matter what you do, how fast you move, what you wear, how you wear your hair. Mm-hmm. There is judgment.
With the tattoo that says, only God can judge me.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to talk to somebody about. And here you're sitting in that seat. So.
I feel like I'm in the hot seat now. No, man. God is so good.
He's so good, man. When I stop to think about some of the things that I've done, man, it almost knocks me to my knees. Like, Lord, I can't believe that you brought me from that. That you still love me and you've forgiven me. We talk about the woman at the well with all the husbands. That's me. Mm-hmm. The thief. That's me. The drug addict. That's me. The alcoholic. That's all me. Mm-hmm. So how can I possibly make a judgment about anybody?
Oh, for sure.
And I think it's just so important to remind people that, yes, we've come out of it. Mm-hmm. Yes, the Lord has refined us and forgiven us and changed us. But we can't forget where we came from. No.
I agree.
Yeah. So, anything you want to talk about?
Oh, man. I was wondering. I was like, oh my God. And it's funny because I was praying about it. I said, I guess with this part of my life, I've always been open. Most of the people that know me from the church, you don't know my story, but most of the people that know me from the church, they know because I opened up right with that, because I always learned I don't want anyone to hold anything against me. So if I tell you up front and you know this about me and my past, what can you do? And that's fine. If you don't want to be in my life, if you don't want to have a friendship or relationship, that's fine, because at the end of the day, the one that's important is my relationship with God.
That's right.
And I know that in one of the darkest times in my life, God was there.
Amen.
So I was actually incarcerated. Uh-huh. And I did 31 months in a federal prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would have never known that.
No. Most people don't. And it's funny because I actually still have some friends that I was incarcerated with, and we joke around about it, and they just say they use the term as we were in college during that time, or whatever it is that they feel comfortable in their life to talk about.
Right.
That's fine. That's on them, but I'm very open about it. I don't have anything to hide about it.
Yes.
I was, being young. And the thing is that this is something that I led into it that there was no need, it was just kind of became an addiction. Mm-hmm. So it was the lifestyle.
Right.
Of, I used to actually be a mule. So I used to transport cocaine across the country. Yeah. So, so that's what I used to do. Wow. And I did it with family. There were some family members that, out of Mexico, your typical show that you watch. I was living it. So, yeah, it was pretty crazy. And just to think that was part of my life. It's sometimes hard to believe. I look back and I'm just it felt like I was watching a movie. Yeah. How is it that was a chapter in my life? Mm-hmm. And during that time, I grew up in church. Mm-hmm. So let me start there. I grew up in church, and I knew that wasn't right. But, I was the kid that never had any trouble growing up. I went to school, I just hated homework. That's pretty much it. But other than that, I was good. My mom always commends me on even when you were little, anywhere we went, you would just stay put. I was that good kid. And it wasn't really that I felt like I rebelled. It was more like I'm just going to try this out. That sounds fun. And so it was more like that, even though I knew.
It's almost curiosity.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost a curiosity, that we we don't have the mindset sometimes to think it through, like, how bad it really is
this. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like, man, this sounds cool. You know, I'm gonna get money and I get to drive nice cars and I go, you know, I get all this cool stuff. Like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. You know, and I didn't have all the consequences. And I didn't have. I was the one taking the biggest risk, but I didn't have the biggest responsibility. So it was just like, I just pick up a vehicle, drive from point A to point B, stay there, you know, enjoy myself, go to the beach, do all whatever I was doing, and then drive the vehicle back to from point B to point A. And then I was done. So it was, to me, it was fun. I was in my early 20s, like, oh, heck yeah. Free, you know, you get ability to travel, something that I love to do. So it was at that time, it just called me, and it was just so easy to fall into it. Well,
and a lot of times, because we see it glamorized, we see things glamorized.
I was about to say that.
That we're living the life.
Yeah.
Just like me, growing up here in California. I came here 42 years ago, so it was the 80s. Mm-hmm. I was 23, 22 years old.
Mm-hmm. California living.
Oh my goodness. So when I get here, I had never ever like messed with hard drugs. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first time I was presented, you know, let's do a couple lines. I was like, what is that? Yeah. I was a country girl. I didn't know. And, you know, it was presented, and I held off for a whole year and a half. I was pregnant. Mm-hmm. They wanted me to do cocaine. I was like, no, I would never do it. You know, It was my third child. And I resisted that whole time. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards gave birth. Raising my kids, and I gave in. Mm-hmm. And so when I tell people, like, no, I did that. Mm-hmm. I did meth, you know, in the 80s. Like, who really didn't? Either you were doing coke or meth. But they're like, but you don't have no signs. I was like, that's the grace of God.
Just like you said, I never would have thought that. Thank you, Jesus.
That's the grace of God.
Oh, my God.
That number one, he got us out of that.
Yeah.
And then he... You know, I could just see him, like, you know, sitting us down and cleaning us all up and making us beautiful and changing us. I mean, that's how I see it. That's what he did in my life, you know?
Yeah.
And so now I get to tell the story.
Right.
Like, so how can I, again, getting back to grace, making judgments, how could I do that?
Yeah.
When I did all of that.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And, yeah, that's been really on my mind this week is grace.
Yeah, for sure.
But thank you for sharing that. We're going to talk again. We're going to talk. I want to hear more. Yeah. But I have a question for you. Uh-huh. Oh, I asked you already. Yeah. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, I mean, I guess we kind of tapped into it a little bit because I did. I was you know, because you have that experience of a mom. I mean, you're a grandma now too. So, and I think you did bring out some of those things because it kind of brought me some more peace. Like, okay, yeah, you're right. Everyone's experience is different. So, yeah, I was definitely going to ask you about that because...
raising kids?
Yeah, because I'm all like, you're a well of wisdom. Who better than ask somebody who's been through it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I tell people if you want book knowledge, I'm not the one because I didn't go to school. I was... While y'all were in school, I was raising kids. Yeah. It was trial and error, but... all 10 of them are, you know, fine.
You're like, I did good. They're all we're good.
Yeah, and I said, you know, the Lord rescued us right in the nick of time because I remember having all 10 of them not knowing what to do. And then I found the Lord and I found the church, and the church family helped us raise our kids. And they were good to us, and there were other moms there that I was gleaning from, you know, and so...
Shout out to Children's Church.
Yes. And I want to give a special shout out today. So I'm going to look directly at the camera today. I want to give a special shout out to all the moms who are raising their children by themselves. And I want to give a shout out to the dads who are raising their children all by themselves.
And it's both ways.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. It's huge. And so thank you. If that's you and nobody's told you lately, great job.
Yeah.
And reach out if you ever need help. There's people who are willing to help. That's the truth.
Oh yeah, you know? No,
we're never alone in it.
My mom friends have been amazing.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely.
So yeah, but anyway, it's so good to see you.
Likewise.
And now just getting to talk to you these few minutes. There's so many things, so many different topics that I would love to talk to you about.
For sure. Yeah.
And is there anything on your mind that you want to share?
Well, just because it circles, we're not going to get into detail on everything, a part of my testimony, but God did use all of that, and how you said with grace. I've been working in the mental health and addiction field for like the past 9 years. So,
wow.
Yeah, so that became a tool and an asset my life to be able to show grace to others and help them and walk them through it. So,
wow, that's perfect.
Yeah, no, God is good.
That is perfect. And so through, one more question, through what you've gone through, just all of it looking back, what is the one thing that just brings so much joy to your life?
I honestly, just seeing how God has worked in my life. Yeah. His hand, like when people say like, oh, how do you believe in God and this and that? I'm not the person who like will bring out I love this and this and this. I'm like, it's by my life. Like, yes. I can tell you my testimony. He's been present in every part of it, and his hand's been there the whole time. So it's seeing God's hand directly in my life is what brings me joy. Even in those moments, and I remember like God's here, God's been through it, God's with me, Yes. So definitely that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I can't wait to hear more about it. So if you're tuning in today, you can find us on Spotify and on YouTube, and tap subscribe. And I loved having you today.
Thank you.
And I don't look at you as just my friend, but you're my sister. Amen. Like my little sister.
Right. I was like, tell me more.
And so we're gonna have another dialogue.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love you.
I look forward to it. Love you too.
So thank you, everybody out there, and we shall see you next week. Take care.
Adios.